Welcome back to Stay Tuned with D.Rey. We're here with Riley Cote. What's going on with you, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Nah, thank you for being on. Thank you for being on. We got to start with your early playing career. It actually started at a training camp up in Canada. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So just talk about the transition from that training camp to your Flyer days.
Sure. So my first, it was my first pro training camp. My first pro training camp, I was eligible to play pro when I was 20. I went to Toronto Maple Leafs training camp. And I remember it like it was yesterday, actually, because my first shift of that first training camp, I hopped over the ice and ran someone over, split the guy open, got in a fight within like literally 5 seconds of me being on the ice. And that was like the beginning of me taking on that role of the enforcer. So
I love that.
Yeah, so from that moment on, I actually signed a contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs minor league team, the St. John's Maple Leafs at the time, and landed up in a league below that in the Central Hockey League. Won a championship that year, and I think I fought 30, 35 times. He was fighting everyone and their brother. That was my mission that year. Took on this new identity of the enforcer, and worked my way up. The following year, played in the East Coast Hockey League, and then the following year after that was the 04-05 NHL lockout, and landed up signing on with the Philadelphia Phantoms that year, and then won a Calder Cup and signed an NHL contract after that, and just battled through there and finally found my way to the Flyers. It's been an interesting road.
So that's something a lot of people don't know. You know, you hear minor leagues in baseball, you hear the G League in basketball, you hear about different divisions of football, but people don't understand how hard it is to make it into professional hockey. So how many levels is it before you actually get to the NHL teams?
So in pro hockey, there's 3 levels. You got the NHL, American Hockey League, and then there's the East Coast Hockey League and Central Hockey League, about the same level in that third tier. Unlike baseball, I think they're like seven tiers or something crazy, and independent ball and the whole bit. So less amount of leagues, but I just don't think there's as many players as there is in baseball. But certainly a grind. There's no question. There's a lot of guys that come out of juniors that never even play pro. So it wasn't easy.
Okay. All right. So you make it into the NHL. What is the biggest difference you see between that league and the others?
I think it was just the execution. The speed was pretty close to the American Hockey League. Just the execution, the transition. The passes were crisper. Guys just received passes better. But other than that, there's a 23-man roster, and then after that, everyone goes down a league and goes down a league. So it was pretty competitive, even in the American Hockey League. But there's only room for so many guys. So. Limited space, and just gotta be consistent. That's the whole thing, is just consistency. These guys that stay there are the guys that are the most consistent.
Okay, all right. So you spoke on fighting very liberally, like it was just, it's okay. Why is it so okay to just rumble?
All right.
In the middle of a game, because like y'all fighting and y'all get back to it. It's like, all right, cool. I see you the next play. Like it's all good. Why is it so easy to fight in hockey?
Well, it's changed a little bit since I retired, but I think accountability in hockey has always been a main ingredient of hockey. It was an element of self-policing and keeping people honest. Keeping the peace, honestly, as barbaric as it looks sometimes. It's amazing what to get punched in the face can do for someone to keep people in line. You know what I mean? It's humbling. So, back in the day, you evolved from like the Broad Street Bullies when the Flyers won 2 Stanley Cups to, essentially a high skill league now where there's virtually no fighting. But somewhere in the middle ground there was, still a role for a guy like myself where I was an energy guy, a stand-up guy, and time to create some momentum. I would be out there to create some momentum. Down a couple goals, if someone got cheap-shotted or some retribution, throw me out there, and I'm a sacrificial lamb. You don't want your high-end guy to go down. You sacrifice a guy like me. So the game's changed a lot, but it really is amazing when there's accountability in a sport. How guys play, how they act, and how they respond to having a guy in the lineup like that.
I love all like the substitute words, like retribution, accountability, which all means kicking someone's ass.
Right.
So after you play, this is something that goes underrated in sports, discovering yourself after you're done. especially for you, because to play at the professional level, that's it. That is your job. That's your life through and through. And to be in that for so long and then for it to be done, how did you deal with that after you were done playing?
Well, it was interesting. When I retired, I was 20 years old, and my body was just banged up from fighting and the whole bit. And,
Retribution.
Retribution, yeah. And I had an opportunity to get into coaching. So I had another year on my contract, and the general manager at the time called me up in the off season and offered me this coaching job. And I knew where the kind of condition my physical body was in. I was emotionally drained. Fighting a chronic state of anxiety is hard to describe, but it wears on you emotionally.
I could imagine.
I looked at it as an exit strategy. Not that I wanted to be a coach forever, but it was an opportunity to transition from playing and getting into something where I could be on the other side of the fence and not prepare to fight on a daily basis and kind of find myself. So I took that opportunity, turned my last year of playing into a 4-year coaching deal, but then I also really started to just show myself some love and self-respect and just kind of find that healing that I think I deserved. And so I started to embark on this journey of holistic and natural medicine, and just everything I started reading kind of came back to the hemp and cannabis plant in some way, shape, or form. Started transitioning from more animal-based proteins to plant-based proteins, and just started to kind of find this niche in the hemp space. So I started a nonprofit and called the Hemp Heals Foundation back then, put on a music festival. And it kind of just seemed to organically happen. I didn't really think about it as me finding an identity, but it kind of became that. It was overall wellness, but really kind of targeting the cannabis plant. It was very misunderstood. A lot of healing involved in it, and I started learning about these U.S. patents that the U.S. government held on cannabinoids as neuroprotectants and antioxidants. So me being punched in the face for a living for several years, it seemed fitting that I would start leaning on a sustainable, all-natural alternative to help mitigate some of the collateral damage that I'd caused. So it seemed all fitting, it all aligned. And as I started speaking publicly about this, I started running into different athletes. A lot of different athletes had similar stories, how cannabis helped increase their quality of life and helped save their life in some cases. So just organically, I kind of found this identity, I guess, not really actually searching for one, but recognizing that I come from a very distinct identity, being an enforcer within a hockey game, not just a hockey player, that I really kind of found my groove, I guess you could say, and became extremely passionate about it. I think when you find your passion is really when you find your identity.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but we definitely have to get into, first of all, the difference between, I don't want to give it away, but, marijuana and cannabis in a medical, state.
Sure.
We also have to talk about your brand and your company. So
Absolutely.
This has been Stay Tuned with D.Rey. We're here at Cote, and we'll be right back.